A new video and a new office. I moved, if you didn't catch on to that, with the boxes and the new, and it doesn't matter. Hi, I'm Brady. Welcome back. I'm sure you're not here to talk about moving, but maybe you're here because you like talking about lighting. I want to talk about, I guess you could call it maybe like an untraditional approach to lighting a subject, or maybe just not my go-to lighting of like side light per se, which is this kind of like top lighting from below, if that makes sense. So I think we need to break that down a little more. But the examples that I'm showing are from a short film that I DP'd about a month ago in California called Petunia. So I was going into this one scene, and at this point, I'm just kind of like almost getting tired of always doing the same thing. Like I want to switch things up. Lately, I've been just trying to think of alternate ways to light a subject, and that's kind of what was going down in this scene. So in this scene, it's kind of like this grungy banking scene. It was supposed to look like this kind of like low tier bank. You know, things aren't going really in favor of the character, so we just wanted this kind of like grungy feel going on here. Now, whenever we're lighting a scene, we want to find motivation for our light. We want to make sense of it. I knew that our motivation was going to be driven from this practical that we see on the desk. This just a green work lamp, essentially, and this warm tungsten lamp. So I was like thinking of different ways to go about this, and I was like, what if I was talking with RJ, my gaffer, who is insane. He's awesome. Thank you, RJ. I love you. You're amazing. But I was like, what if we took a light and just kind of bounced it off the desk, and that way it's radiating up on both the banker and Alec. And he was like, oh, that's a really cool take. So I was essentially going for like this almost lighting from below, almost as if this practical light were just bouncing off the desk and just kind of like softly radiating around. But we actually added a light. So that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about, you know, how we did this, a little bit of why we did this, and some of the difficulties of why lighting a subject like this may not be your go-to or may not be as easily achievable. I don't want to break down the entire scene here. I kind of just want to talk about the key light here. Maybe we can save that for a later video. So we touched on why we lit this a little bit, and that's essentially just because we're motivating the light off of this lamp. I wanted to look like it was just naturally coming through the scene. And even if I wanted to light from the side, it might have been difficult because we had this really wide shot which would have exposed everything. So I was pretty sold on the look of this top light, and especially if it were bouncing off and kind of underlighting the banker. She's already kind of delivering a little bit of bad news. You know, I would in a way maybe call her an antagonist. So I like this kind of like ghost story-ish underlight idea in my head as well. So that's pretty much the why. I mean, there wasn't much to it. I wanted to light different than from the side, and it was motivated off of this lamp, and it kind of had this little ghost story-ish underlight look. And then how we did this, it was a little bit difficult. It was definitely on the more difficult side of things. So we were actually in a studio for this, and they had a bunch of drop ceilings. So RJ just went up there, and I was like, could we get something up there? And we were gonna do a scissor clip on the ceiling, but it just wasn't high enough. So he just gets up there, moves the panel out of the way, and there were like wooden beams right above that. So he just took like a C-clamp, and he took our light source, which is an Aputure 600C, because we needed bicolor and a little bit of that hue adjustment as well. And he rigged this up there with a C-clamp, and I think he had a spotlight mount on top of that. Now I want to say we use something narrow because we want to control the beam. We don't want it to fall on the tops of the characters' heads in the rest of the scene. We wanted to keep it isolated on just the desk. So we had the 600C up there, and we had that to a matching, I think, 2700 Kelvin. And then we were shooting it at the desk. Now on the wide shot, we just shot it at the desk, and it just radiated all the soft light that we need on them. But then when you move into the tight, you kind of want to polish things off. You want to make them look just a little bit nicer. So that's what we did on these tights coming in. Instead of just shooting off of the desk, we cleared off the desk, and I put a sheet of unbleached muslin on there, and that way we're essentially using the desk as a white muslin bounce, and then that's just going to give this very soft kind of creamy look that muslin does, bouncing off muslin does, and it looked really, really good. It was kind of exactly the look that I was going for. And it's nice because when you look at the image, you don't have the hard light anywhere. It's not casting on the shoulders or kind of giving it away, and that's the key to it. That's why you want to use something narrow, because you really only want it to go on the desk. And it almost looked like this hot spot that was on the desk in the wide was coming from the practical lamp that was on the desk. It just looks like it was like a little hot spot on the desk. So it really does kind of like disguise your light source by being on the table like this. And this can be great for like dialogue scenes or group shots where there's a lot of people, say, around a circular table or stuff like that. Now, lighting a subject like this or subjects like this may not be the most, typical way to light somebody. And that could be for a variety of reasons. One, it's just stylistic, but two, under lighting like this, it's not as common, but I think done in times like this or when it calls for it or you have motivation for it, I think it looks really, really nice. And it's definitely something we shouldn't steer away from because we always hear like, don't underlight. And then also, I think the big kicker is rigging. It's a lot easier to rig up your lights from the side. You can set your light on a C-stand, put a softbox on it, and you've got a nice side light. I'm saying that because I've got that right here. But when it comes to lighting from above, it starts to bring in, either you go from like beams that are support beams in the ceiling, or you put like a spreader across a wall, or you have to put out like a big boom arm and then counterweight. So it gets very, very difficult the more overhead you go with your sources. So I would say options to avoid this are, if you've got a lightweight fixture, like a little Amaran 60 or like an F22, you can do like a scissor clip, which just clamps into those like metal support beams that are in drop ceilings. Or, again, if you've got the rigging equipment, you can do a boom arm or an adventure arm overhead with a light fixture, but it just makes things a little bit harder. So again, I don't want to break down the entire scene, but I just think it's really fun to light from below or bounce off of a table. I keep looking back at it and I'm like, I really like the look of this. It looks different and it's thinking outside of the box essentially. And that's what I always try to do, I try to remind myself to think outside of the box as much as I can and just try to do something different. And that's what I did with this project. So I've been thinking about it a lot lately and I just wanted to share that with you. Even if you have just one light, it could be a really cool look if you just take that light and put it from above and shoot it into a table. You can really just get that stand as close to the frame as you can and then just kind of shoot it in from like a little toppy-sidey action there. So it's fun to get creative. I would love to hear cool and unique and different ways that you've lit a subject in the comments below, but that's all that I've got for you guys in this video. I think I might do a full breakdown of this scene later on, but I'm moving and I didn't want to miss you guys for a week. So I just popped on here to talk about this quick little scene and quick little way to light a subject in an untraditional-ish way. But that's all. So I'll see you guys in the next video and yeah, adios. Bye-bye.